It's been a long day for everyone, but it is my absolute pleasure to invite our last speaker of the day to talk about Inside the Game, lessons from a 20-year journey in pro football. Please give a big round of applause to Diederik Dewaele, Director of Football at the ECA. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. My name is Diederik Dewaele, and I would like to start by thanking João, wherever you are, João. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm used to standing in front of a public explaining competition formats, access lists, or the way how we agreed on distributing the revenues of a certain competition. Now it's my pleasure to talk about my professional experience and share some lessons. So it is something different, but I really look forward to doing so. My presentation will be split into two. First, I want to talk a little bit about myself, about my role, and about ECA, but I'll keep that short. And then I would like to share some what we call lessons from my 20 years in football. 20 years already. It goes very fast. But before we really start, I would like you to look at this screenshot from a film. Is there anyone who recognizes the movie? Like movie geeks, something? You can shout it if you know. Do you recognize the actor? Yes, Jerry Butler. You know you recognize the back of the other actor. It's Ralph Fiennes, the one who plays Voldemort without the nose. Here is just without the face because it was the back. This is from a movie called Coriolanus, which came out like 10 years ago, and I come back to this at the end of my presentation. Good. So, who am I? I'm a Belgian citizen, born a long time ago in Belgium. I studied law, I specialized in social law, sports law, and I wanted to do the FIFA Master, which I eventually ended up doing, but I had to do 1 year of professional experience before doing so. So I worked as a trainee lawyer in Bruges. Then at the end of my master, I was asked if I wanted to come to UEFA for a 2-month project, and I stayed 3 years. And then in 2008, I moved to ECA, European Club Association, which was just created by them. In the beginning, I was an administrator, which means you do everything. And my role developed over these 16 years and a half to director of football. So European Club Association. I appreciate that not everyone knows exactly what that is. And I could give a very corporate presentation, which I'm not going to do. Instead, I'm going to show you this movie.
We are ECA. We are at the heart of European club football, representing hundreds of clubs on the European and international stage. As the sole independent club body officially recognized by UEFA and FIFA, we bring clubs together to find consensus and ensure their voices are heard in all international decision-making. We are driven by our mission to safeguard and promote clubs' interests in the decision-making process of governing bodies. A commitment to play a constructive role in making European football ever more successful and sustainable with all stakeholders. Offering knowledge sharing, information, and free services to all our clubs. A continuously expanding and growing ECA family. We are leading the way to build a successful, democratic, and inclusive football for all. We are ECA, placing clubs at the heart of football.
Good. So ECA now comprises of 750 odd European clubs that are a member, and we want to first of all, represent these clubs. So we want to make sure that these clubs have a voice when it comes to the calendar or the laws of the game or the transfer rules or other financial mechanisms and so on. So we will represent these clubs. So we will work alongside the clubs in discussions with FIFA, with UEFA, with the European Commission, with IFAB, and so on. So that is the more political side of our job. Then, second, when it comes to the European club competitions or international club competitions in general, because now we also have the FIFA Club World Cup, we will work together with UEFA or with FIFA on running these clubs. So we don't only represent the clubs in agreeing on how the competition would look like. We also ended up now with this UC3, you see, the new joint venture. We actually end up running the competitions together through that joint venture. So that is a crucial part of our mission, which has been developed very recently, especially that running of the competitions. And then third, if you have 750 clubs together, there is a massive opportunity to offer services, because all these clubs, they want to become better. They want to learn from each other. They want to learn from specialists. So you make sure that on a variety of functions through their club, they can actually learn, and they can profit from services that we offer them, which either are not available outside of ECA, or we can offer at a much cheaper rate. But almost all of our services are for free, by the way. Good. Then my specific role here. And I admit I'm a director of football, but I'm not doing any transfers. But that's fine. I focus on the pure sporting side. So when it comes to deciding or discussing with UEFA on how many teams there should be in the Champions League, or this new European club competitions format with this single league instead of group stage, do you like it? Okay, thank you. So we've done something good. And the creation of the Conference League, for instance, is also something that we discussed together with UEFA. So that is also the political side of my job. Second, again, football-specific services on the men's side, for instance, for sporting directors. On the women's side in general, women's football promotion, women's football activities, and youth football, which is one of our most popular services. Because every club has an academy and want to get as many players through into their first team. Finally, we do a lot on medical and performance, which is crucial because ultimately we want to help clubs to make sure that they can use their players as often as possible at the highest intensity. This is crucial. So we have been focusing on this quite a lot. Good. Okay. That was the boring part, I promise. So what have I learned in these 20 years? A lot. Okay, that's simple. So here are my lessons. I have a couple of lessons for you, which I would like to go through. Again, if you have questions afterwards, I'm very happy to talk you through. So first of all, a career is not a linear process. Careers in the beginning, especially, but not only, goes with ups and downs. That's normal. That's fine. That happens to everyone. It happened to me as well. My first job in the law firm was tough. Honestly, it was not simple because at a certain moment, I felt that they were all against me. And I said, but okay, I do my best. And they said, doing your best is not enough. I thought, okay, well, thank you. But okay, I knew at the same time, I will do this for 1 year, then I do the FIFA Master, and then another world opens up, which happened to be the case. So it is normal that your career goes with ups and downs. It's normal. You just have to realize that throughout your career, you will get to a situation where everything stabilizes a little bit, where you will also get more acquainted to your career, to the whole environment, and so on. I come back to that first part. So just bear in mind that one day you might be a line manager, and I appreciate that many people amongst here already have some professional experience. So I'm not talking to people that absolutely don't have. But it's not that your second job automatically will be better than your first job. It's just that it is not linear, and that's fine. So just when you're a line manager, just appreciate that if you hire young professionals, they might still need to learn a lot. So just be clement to them. Don't hammer them, because they still need to learn a lot, and we all went through that phase. Second, It all starts with a good CV. I'm not an HR specialist, and I don't claim to be, but I've interviewed quite some people in my career, and I hired quite some of them. And there are a couple of recommendations that I would like to make to you as young professionals when it comes to your CV. First of all, keep it simple. Keep your CV simple. Have a picture, that's fine. But sometimes when I saw CVs, I thought they were applying for a spot in the European Circus Association. And that's really not the purpose, because it really increases your chances of not being even be considered. You know, HR people, they spend 10 seconds on the CV, 15 seconds. So make sure that your CV is really spot on. And one of the things that I find important in a CV is that you don't only mention the job description or the descriptions of your previous roles, but also how success looked like in your previous role, how you managed to get success in your previous roles. So show what you achieved and show how through your career you managed to achieve bigger things. And that is something that catches the eye. Another thing that I would like to recommend, which is a little bit more out of the box, I would say, is make sure that you put your hobbies, put something special about yourself. Because ultimately, if you get into a situation that you are on a shortlist, the position of the hirer might be, okay, all these 3-4 people, they could do the job. So let's just see how the interview goes. And then they might catch the eye on one of your hobbies, and they might start talking about it. Or they might be impressed about one of these things that just pop up from your CV. And then you start discussing about it. It might not be 100% on that job, but it is just the feeling that you create. It's really important. Think about it. And please prepare for your job interview. There is nothing worse for a hirer to sit in a room with someone that you feel from minute number 1 that he's not going to get the job or she's not going to get a job for the simple reason that she doesn't know what ECA is, or she doesn't know she doesn't have an answer, or he doesn't have an answer on the basic questions. 3, it also not only starts with the CV, but also with the dream. That's fine. We all need to have a dream. But please wake up, because you haven't seen anything yet. When I was 13 years old, I wanted to work in football. Well, I'm not the only one. I also decided at that moment that I didn't want to become a professional football player, unlike many other people, because for obvious reasons, I knew I was not good enough. But I wanted to work in football. I was passionate about football. But then I started studying law, and I wanted to work in sports law. So I wanted to work for FIFA. So I did the FIFA Master, and I wanted to work in FIFA plays status, because it could combine my passion for law with the passion for football. Good. I thought, do I want to work for UEFA? But there is nothing for me there. And then suddenly someone from UEFA came to me and asked, do you want to work for UEFA for 2 months? Of course you say yes. And then, so I stayed there for 3 years, and in that 3 years I realized that I don't want to do sports law. I want to do football stuff. And I want to do research, and I want to talk to people, and I want to liaise and build my network, but on generic football topics, not on sports law. So you might have dreams, but just be open enough, because you don't know yet. You just have to live your career a little bit before you know what you actually want to do. And then there will be a time in your career where you say, okay, now I have this experience. Now exactly I know what I want to do. I know where I can add value to the market and where I can get most out of the market as well. But that's not in the beginning of your career, by no means. Good. Lesson number 4. Be flexible when looking for your first jobs. It sounds very logical, but it is not always easy for people to accept that their first couple of jobs is not what they exactly wanted. Sometimes you just take something because it comes like this, but for sure, please don't wait for the ideal job in the beginning of your career. Take something, try it out, do something else. You have 40 to 45 years to fill. So you can spend a couple of years just trying and finding out what you want to do. And then, again, later on, you will understand what you want to do or what you don't want to do. And then in the meantime, you gather that valuable experience, and that's the moment where you can really start looking with a decent CV for something that really the domain that you want to work into. So together with this, and I go back to what I said before on the CVs and on the recruitment, please don't apply if you want to work for a certain firm. That's okay, that can happen. But please don't apply for positions that you know in advance are too senior. And again, it sounds simplistic, but I've seen it before. People, they take something senior because they think they can do it. They have no chance on the market. And then they start applying for more junior positions in the same company just because they want to work in the company. But sorry, it doesn't work like that. You have to build your career step by step. If you try to jump steps, if you try to go to the fourth level at once, you end up having nothing. By the way, don't forget, the most important decisions in your life are not necessarily taken by yourself. For instance, a friend of mine who works in an international federation here in Lausanne, he, as a lawyer, once had a meeting with his general secretary, and the general secretary said, "Listen, I think you're an average lawyer." The guy, "Ooh. But I think you're much better in governance, so I want you to be our director of governance." So that was the second part. So a decision was taken for him, which positively influenced his career, just by saying, "Okay, I don't think you're good at this, but you're good at something else." By the way, I come back to that. In my career, when I was at UEFA, so I went from fixed contract to fixed contract, and at the end, I hope that finally I will get an open-ended contract. But my line manager, in a, I have to admit, not very gentle way, told me, "Okay, you get another 6 months, and then it's finished." And ultimately, that was the best decision he could take, because I went on doing something else, which I think was really beneficial for my career. So, voila, that's a little lesson. Just accept that you don't have always full control of your professional life. Back to the basics. Sounds very simple, but it's more important, even more important than you think, and I will explain. So please do your best. The reason why I'm saying this is that if you arrive somewhere in a company and you really excel by not only by quality but also by professionalism and by like positivism, they will want to keep you. There are many companies or associations that are on constant change. I'll show you later. Within ECA, we have been changing structure a lot. And the first thing they will do is looking at the positive elements and the good people in the association. And they will sometimes even adapt the structure in favor of individuals rather than on pure functions, because they want to reward people that are doing well. And you'll see, they will also feel that that person, when he's recognized as someone very positive in the association, they will want to anticipate on the leverage that that person has. So they don't want to lose that person. No company wants to lose good elements. So it is very important. Also the professionalism. Again, when I was at UEFA, at the end, I had someone who came to me and said, "Look, I see that you're a bit disappointed about the decision that was taken by your line manager. Stay professional. It's the only thing I can say," he told me, and I was very grateful afterwards because he was right, and it also helped me. So stay professional. Really, even if there are always times, again, back to point one, it's not a linear process. There are times where it's more difficult. Always stay positive and professional and do your best, and you will ultimately always get rewarded for it. If they can't keep you in the company because there is no headcount or whatever, they will be the first one to give you a reference letter that is very positive, or that will be recommending you in your future job search. Then, change is an opportunity. By the way, I took this picture because that shows that was the entire ECA administration 10 years ago. And that was the org chart in the beginning of ECA, in 2008. Quite simple, isn't it? And this is how the football department looks like now. And the overall headcount in ECA is 55 people. So if you were against change, if you have a problem with change, you don't survive in a growing association like this. So change management is such an important thing. Change is an opportunity. Here again, when we were 2, and then in the beginning we were for a long time 4 to 10 people at ECA. At a certain moment, with the new president coming in, there was a strategic decision to just grow and to structure the administration in a more professional way, in a more functional way, rather than just by person, if you want. And it happened that at a certain moment, they told me, look, and then you see you have your CEO coming a little bit nervous to you and said, yeah, the positive, it's very positive and so on. But by the way, you were doing operations and football. As from now, you will only do football. And then you can do 2 things. You can say, you can complain. Yeah, but I like to have a lot of projects. Or you can see the opportunity. Okay, I'm going to specialize now. I will become the point of reference for football in the office, amongst the stakeholders, and so on. So there is a massive opportunity. There was, and there still is. It's also, again, comes with up and downs. I was, at a certain moment, I think it was 2018, they told me, okay, you're going to become a director. And I had our general secretary at that time who looked at me and he said, look, I'm not sure you will manage, but you do it anyway. Thank you. So it happens that a change is made. Be open to change. It is a good thing. And sometimes, again, to my previous point, other people are making a decision for you. But these other people do it because they see the wider picture, which sometimes you don't see. My last point, networking. Very important. Networking is inherent to any industry, to any professional activity, and is very enriching. So you should all be doing networking, and the reason that you're here is that you know that networking is important. But there are some rules that I would like to suggest to you, because there is nothing worse than an intrusive or someone that really pushes too hard as a more junior of the 2 people versus a more senior or a more experienced person. So I would really recommend that you, of course, you introduce yourself, you say what you've been doing, and so that's normal. But I personally, if I speak to someone more senior or someone that's a public figure or so, I will never ask that person, can I have your business card? I will give my business card. And by the way, I'm still a fan of the old-fashioned cards, even though I don't have any more. But ultimately, it's the easiest. Here's my business card. Ultimately, if that person is impressed by you, he will either immediately give his business card or he will find you. He will find you. And how can he or she find you? Well, you can connect through LinkedIn. I personally am a big fan of LinkedIn. So if you were in contact with someone, send a message, an invitation to connect through LinkedIn, leave a little message. Hi, Mr. or Madam, we met at that occasion. It was a pleasure meeting you. It would be a pleasure for me to be connected. Reach out if you have any further questions. Boom. If the person is not interested, at least you tried. If the person is interested, we'll get back to you. Good. So, 20 years on one slide. Well, so it's basically a summary. Accept that your career goes with ups and downs, especially in the beginning, but not only. Get your CV in order. Prepare for your interviews. It's good to have a dream, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Be flexible when picking your first jobs. Be open to change because it offers opportunities. Networking, yes, but take it easy. And first, and let's say most importantly, do your best. So, any questions?
For
Wants
the
to
brave
ask a
ones in the
question?
room. Come on, one hand. There you go. Congratulations.
You can ask me anything, also about about ECA. So we still have 5 minutes. So yes.
Hello, I just want to ask for young professionals that are maybe a little intimidated when applying for when they look at a job posting and the requirements. How do you make up for the lack of experience in a job interview or your resume?
But the lack of experience, well, it depends on the kind of the job. If you're applying for a job and you see that you are, let's say you have to make sure that you're in the experience range. Normally there is like at least X number of years or up to X number of years of experience. So if it's a bit borderline, you can still give it a go. But you might need to think about how you can compensate for the lack of experience. But if you're completely out of it, like if they require 7 years at least, because it's a quite senior position, then you don't commit 4 years because you're wasting your time. Unless you objectively, you know that you have such a strong profile on something really specific in the job, and then still, I wouldn't even try, so don't bother. By the way, one thing I want to add is also something from my experience. If you see that there is a job opening in a certain firm, feel free to reach out to people that work in that firm. Actually, that is a good idea. Talk to the person or try to get hold to especially more junior people that can just help you out, like friends. They can give you insight. You can ask them as well, do I fit in that profile? And then they can even drop your name at HR. It's always good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? There's a question at the back.
I'm coming to you. I made Joao run in the morning. I'll run now. Here you go.
As director of football of ECA, how do you implement your knowledge and best practices for clubs in Europe, as clubs don't have the same size, the same needs? So I wanted to know, how do you implement your knowledge and assess the club's needs?
It's a very good question. On one side, it is true that certain services are less relevant for certain clubs compared to others. We don't need to tell Manchester United or Manchester City or Juventus how to do certain commercial things or how to do scouting. But on the other hand, there are always common denominators. There are a couple of topics where we feel that all the clubs are interested in. Women's football, youth football, scouting, still sporting directors. When we organize events for sporting directors, we have the biggest clubs there because they see the importance of networking. They want to listen to peers as well. So there are some common denominators amongst all the clubs, and that's especially around the core business of football, which is football. So not just the commercial side, more really the sporting side. Yes.
Here you go. I think one more question. And
I have a question. You said that sometimes decisions are not made by yourself, but by someone else because they might have the bigger picture. I was wondering, for example, when you started in an administration position and you worked yourself up to a project manager position, and then even though they don't take away your title, but they actually change your position in form of tasks so that you're actually back to administration position. So how would you deal with that situation?
So you mean that they are basically putting you a level back?
Yeah.
Well, of course, you always have, to start with, you always have the right to say, I don't like this particular change because I feel that for me it is, there might not be always the opportunity that you have in front of you that you can identify. So if they're putting you backwards, you always have the right to say, okay, maybe it's time to look for something else. So that might be the opportunity afterwards. But of course, that's simple to say. So it's in an ideal world, there is a consultation phase. So you have the possibility to say what you would like to do. In case it's not there, again, if they pull you back, so you're not growing, then it means that that something is wrong. And then I have to admit, you might have seen on the job opening. Sorry, there is a job opening on a position above me. So there will be a chief football officer at ECA at some stage. And that is also because they feel that director of football for me is the highest level in ECA. And that's fine. I can handle that because I also see the added value of have someone in between me who does like purely political stuff. So I am on the second row, a bit more relaxed, and that's fine. So again, is another. It doesn't always mean that you go up, but it creates a new environment, and then you have to see, let's say, the advantage of it. And it's sometimes it takes a little bit of time because it might be against what you originally thought and what your plans were. But sometimes if you take a bit of time and you reflect, you will understand the reasoning behind it, and then it will be easier to accept. So I speak from my experience there. Did I reply to your question?
Yes, but I'm not sure if I completely agree.
Okay, yeah, but that's fine. We're not here to completely agree, but it's true. There might be situations where you look for where the opportunities are. But in general, from my experience, in most of the changes, there is a lot of opportunity.
Thank you. We have one last question in the back,
Yes.
and then I know we could keep going probably for the next better part of the hour, but we'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There are some cases of persons, for example, who have experience in different fields apart of sports, and now are transitioning into sports. And most of the time when we see jobs, we want to apply based on our previous skills, and there are skills that are transferable. How can we, and what are your advice regarding that in order to be able to transfer the skills that we had in previous experience workplace?
Well, again, it depends on the job. It depends on the domain. But in general, I would say that coming from another industry sometimes helps because it allows for a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh approach. Which sometimes if you come from the same industry, you all think a little bit in the same way. You don't have that the wider picture. So having someone that comes from either another sport or another industry could contribute to that diverse way of thinking. So in that way, it could be interesting to have someone from another industry. Of course, if it's a position that is very sports related, then it will be more difficult. But I think mainly on, I would say, commercial or legal positions, for instance, or more wider HR positions. There, I think there is room to bring in people from other industries. Yeah. By the way, I still need to come back to my first slide. My last message to you is you really need to enjoy your job because it always comes with surprises. So that film, I was on the film set there. So I managed to get that picture with Jerry Butler because I was on a visit in Belgrade. The president of the Red Star Belgrade Football Club was a former film actor. His daughter was producing this film. He took me to the film set, and I just managed to meet these people, really by surprise. I have to admit, I didn't really know Gerard Butler before that, but it was a very nice moment. So you have to appreciate all these special moments in your career. Thank you very much.